Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmoth.
All right, welcome to another episode of the SGV Master Key podcast. I'm your host, Russell.
And I'm Scott.
Yeah. And today we have a good friend of mine and San Gabriel Valley entrepreneur, Marcus Chan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah,
it's great to be
here. Coming.
So, Marcus, what's your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Oh, wow. I mean, my family came into the States when I was 4. So it was early 1978. And we had family that was already in the San Gabriel Valley, living in Alhambra, Monterey Park. And so it was very easy for them to recommend my mom to come and stay in Alhambra. It was just such a easy transition, I guess you could say.
So
because the culture,
from what location did you come?
From Burma, Myanmar now. Yeah, now they call it Myanmar. Yeah.
So are you Burmese or
I am
Chinese?
not. The funny thing is, my family was living in Thailand at the time, but they also owned a lot of land in Myanmar. And so the Burmese government doesn't allow non-citizens to own land. And so my father had my mother, right before childbirth, go to Burma just so I could have a Burmese citizenship in case in the future the land got passed down to me.
Is that right?
Wow. It's all gone now. So it's not necessary
The land
anymore.
is gone and you're not a Burmese citizen?
I'm not. I'm just a U.S. citizen, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Alhambra then?
I grew up in Alhambra, yes.
Well, what was that like being from Burma and coming to San Gabriel Valley?
I was 4 years old, but I do remember being in Thailand. When I was in Thailand, we were in international schools, so it was primarily English. So my transition of coming from Thailand to here and starting preschool or kindergarten here, it was a pretty smooth transition. Every kid that's starting kindergarten is new. No one's coming with any friends. I spoke English, but I completely remember that first day. The teacher walks up to me, and I'm wearing a little t-shirt with an elephant on there. And I think she didn't think I spoke English, but she comes up to me and says, "Do you know what that is? Can you say elephant?" I was like, "Yeah, elephant." It's just, I'm assuming she wasn't from the area and doesn't realize, the demographics of the population of Alhambra or San Gabriel Valley.
Where'd you go to kindergarten and grade school?
Northrop Elementary. Or actually El Repetto first.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually El Repetto. And then from Repetto, we moved around a lot because my mom was a single mom. And so it was always trying to find the cheaper apartment. And I remember moving apartments every year.
Really?
So the first 3 years we were in Monterey, Alhambra, but we went to Repetto. We lived right by Keppel on Alhambra Road. And then we finally moved to 5th Street and Main, where I went to Northrop Elementary. And then from there, I went to Alhambra High. Yeah.
So your roots are really in the San Gabriel Valley.
It is in the San Gabriel Valley, yes.
And then you went to Alhambra High School.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And that's when I first met Russell.
So Marcus has a story, and I don't remember, but he has a story about me.
Yes. Okay. So
I have no recollection of the story, by the way.
You mean you're denying it, or
I have scars to prove it. I still have a scar.
I have no recollection.
Then it must be a good story. Go ahead.
It was. We were both in clubs in our respective high schools, and we would always have these weekend get-togethers where it would be a football match between different clubs. And I totally remember we were playing football against Russell's club, Koakua. Is that right?
Yeah,
Koakua?
yeah.
And I was a part of Ohanahui. And I remember catching the football, running downfield, and this guy just shoulders me right in the neck, gashes me, and I was just laying there, not able to breathe. It got the wind knocked out of me, and I couldn't even talk because it was right in the throat.
And that was your first interaction
with Russell.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like me at
to
all,
the
though.
throat, right? Just right to the throat.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
So he,
And those are like Tri-Hi-Y or YMCA service clubs,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So
It was
they're-
sponsored by the YMCA, I guess you could say.
and you also played sports in high
I
school?
did. I was part of the water polo team, swim team, and basketball team.
And how is that?
Yes, he wants me to say that he kicked our butts.
okay.
On every team I was on.
No, that's
Because you were Mark Keppel.
right.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
It
you
was
were
our rivalry.
Alhambra.
That's
so,
those are rival schools.
You're in the same league?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the name of the league?
Almont
League. Yeah.
Yeah.
San Gabriel, Sure, Bell Gardens, and Montebello, and Alhambra, Mark Keppel.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Okay.
wide ranging.
It is because depending on what sport you're in, like I think for water polo, we had Burroughs and Burbank part of the league.
Right.
But in basketball, because they had to replace certain schools that didn't have water polo, like Mark Keppel, and I believe they have it now, but not before.
Right. And so growing up in the or high school in the San Gabriel Valley, everyone's like 70% Asian, right?
Yes. I think our breakup was 50-50 for Hispanic and Asian, and a little dust up of Caucasian and African American, but it was mostly 50-50 in our school. Was Keppel the same way?
I think it was maybe 70% Asian.
Coming from Monterey Park, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Keppel's a very different school now, though. I mean, what I understand is they're really highly regarded academically, and
I heard the same thing. Alhambra and Keppel, all of a sudden they've really jumped up there.
whereas before it was like, yeah, there's a lot of gangsters that go there, and it's dangerous.
It was a great school ranking of 3. 3 out of 10. It was not good.
Yeah, it was
Oh, wow.
really, really not good. But okay, and then so what happened after Alhambra?
After Alhambra, I got accepted in UC Irvine. So I moved out to Irvine. While I was there, I actually joined a fraternity. It was called Beta Omega Phi. It's actually an open fraternity out in LA, but my grades did slip. Yeah. And so got on probation and got kicked out. And that is where my story kind of changes a little, because my father and mother, after hearing of this, cut me off. Basically, just like that. No
So they
warning.
were supporting you through
were supporting
school,
me.
But freshman, sophomore,
Yeah,
freshman year.
Yeah, and I remember when they cut me off, I had maybe $100 in my bank account. At the time, I was actually roommates with Grant Watanabe. You know Grant.
Right.
And great friend. I mean, he basically just put me on his back for the first couple months until I could get it back on my feet, covered my rent, covered all the bills, took care of groceries. But I was fortunate enough to have really good friends. I mean, I had friends who looked out for me. One friend, Connie Chan, she actually knew I was looking for a full-time job to kind of get myself back on my feet. And at this point, I mean, I've only worked at, sushi restaurants and Banana Republic, part-time stuff that didn't really offer any skill set. And so she calls me and says, hey, I just interviewed at this place called MicroTech Corporation. It's out in the City of Industry. They were basically a computer company that built bare bone computers, network servers, things like that. And they offered her a sales job with commission base and salary base, commission and salary. And she said, I think you'd be great for this. I'd take the job, but I can't work full time. I said, that sounds great. So I went in there, got their interview, told her I had no sales experience, but they felt that I was very personable, that I was able to carry conversation and maybe be able to do this job. It was a great learning experience. I mean, not only did I learn about computers, I learned how to talk to people, how to engage with people, how to be sellable, my sellability. With that as my first main job, I felt that without that job and that experience, I would not be where I am today.
So how long did you do that?
Oh gosh, for almost 4 years.
And you were
4
selling, was it computer parts or was it
Exactly.
completed computers? Or?
Yeah, and so this job didn't give you any sort of sales leads or anything like that. You basically had to go on the internet and find computer stores or network companies that were basically companies that would approach other companies to set up their computer networks and specify put the specifications together for the computers. So I would cold call these places all over from Hawaii all the way to New York. Just back then it wasn't Google, it was Yahoo, right? Yahoo was what was popular back in 99, 89, 98. And I would just Yahoo phone list and just cold call them and say, hey, my name is Marcus. I'm with MicroTech. I could save you some money on some computers. Basically throw my pitch out there,
right.
Mail out my information and wait for them to call back and place orders.
So you were no more college? You never went back?
At that point, I could not do it. I was basically just trying to survive, trying to find ways of income so I could have a place to stay.
So your parents had cut you off.
Yeah.
And you had to find something to do, and you found something to do. But what was your personal relationship like with your parents?
I did not talk to them for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. It was basically they cut me off and says, you're not my son anymore. I mean, most Asians could probably relate to what I'm talking about. I think it's a little tougher for maybe other cultures, but I feel like the Asian community would understand what I mean, where you mess up so bad and you've disgraced us.
Did you
right? You made us lose face, and so you're not my son anymore kind of situation.
Did you have any idea that was going to happen? Did you ever even
not
think
that extreme.
that would?
Not that extreme. And it was actually at this point that me and Russell actually started to hang out a lot more. Right. He kind of saw my life during that time, waking up early, going to work, coming home,
right.
Taking care of business, things like that. Yeah.
And so to jump ahead a little bit, and coming from that, and now you're a successful businessman and entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about that.
Like, how did it get to that point?
Yeah.
So, like I said, I didn't talk to him for 2 years. And at that, I believe it was 2001, my father finally reached out to me. And at that point, I think, maybe it was 2000. I think it was my 21st birthday.
That's right. Yes.
Right. It was
I was there.
99.
That's right, yes.
It was my 21st birthday. And I think, he just wanted to squash everything, put everything behind us and build on our relationship again. And he actually, threw a big birthday party for me, my 21st birthday in Las Vegas, where Russell was there. A few of our friends were there. And at that point he says, hey, I know you're doing okay, but I'd really like you to go back to school. And I said, it's really tough. It's really tough that once you're in the workforce, you've gained some sort of work experience and that independent life, to say, I quit and I'm going to go under my dad's wings again. No, I wasn't going to go down that road again. And so he understood that. And maybe about a year later, my uncle calls me up and says, hey, Marcus, let's have dinner. I want to talk to you about a few things. I said, sure. So I met him up at a Thai restaurant out in Diamond Bar. And I'm sitting there with my current wife, Wei Ling, and his wife, and we're just having a nice dinner. And I said, so what's up? What is it that you want to talk about? He says, I hate my job and I want to start a business. And I said, okay, would you like to go in partners with me? So I said, well, what kind of business? He says, well, your dad does plastics out in Asia. He has no interest in coming here in the States doing that. What do you think about buying material from him and his suppliers and distributing out here? And I said, well, what kind of terms are you talking about? I mean, is he going to be involved? Because I've had experience with my father. I did not want to be under his umbrella in any way. He says, you know what? I spoke to him. He says, this is all us. He'll go and send us some material. If we do great, we do great. It's 50-50 between you and me. I said, all right. So what are the terms that you're talking about? He says, I know nothing about sales. I don't even know how to talk to people, but I'm great with operations and books. I'll take care of that. You just handle the sales. I said, that sounds great, but there has to be a definitive border. When it comes to sales and dictating pricing and customer service and all that stuff, I need to be in charge. I can't have you step into my court and I won't step into your court. I think that's the best way to do it. And he agreed. He said, yeah, let's do it. And so, we brought in about 20 containers of plastics. So what we did is plastic distribution. They're basically plastic resins that we would source out for plastic injection molding or extruders that are making products. So that's what we're selling. And so this was in 2002. By 2003, our doors were open. And I just went back to what I knew. yahooing plastic injection molders in Southern California, starting off locally, calling them up. I had the idea that, there's competition out there that's been established for years, decades, but how can we be different than them? And I came up with the idea that, those salespeople are probably lazy. They probably never visit their customers. They're probably just picking up their phone to take their orders, never offered any sort of customer service or face-to-face contact. And I told my uncle, I said, that's my plan. That's how I'm going to approach this. So I would call them up, let them know. I didn't give them an option. I just said, hey, my name is Marcus. Just want to introduce myself to you. I'm going to stop by tomorrow, hand you some information about us. So I made the drives out there. I would visit 8 to 10 customers a day, all over Southern California. And I wouldn't just show up empty-handed. Sometimes I'd come with donuts. Sometimes I'd come with sandwiches for the purchasing agent, just to get that face-to-face contact. I felt like I was trying to build a relationship that they were missing from where they were currently buying from. And that's how I was going to get into the market. First year, we lost $250,000. That was our loss.
And how did you cover that?
It was we borrowed money from my father because all the material that he was coming in, we didn't have to pay for. So that was our collateral. And so the materials we sold, we still owed him money on the invoices. And we would just keep that money and use it to run our operations. Second year, we made $510,000. So we covered our first year loss and made over $280,000. Great. We finally made some money. But still, we couldn't enjoy that money. At this point, it was basically, we were only taking about $2,000 a month salary just to cover our living expenses. We weren't making any sort of money at all.
And you were married?
I was not married yet.
Oh, okay.
At this point, I was not married yet. This is 2003, we lost money. 2004, we finally made money. By 2005, we did $10 million in sales a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just through grit.
Just through grit. It's just, the old mentality, boots to the pavement. Work hard, assume that the person who works the hardest is going to get the money.
So it's
always my
hard work.
Hard work.
And your uncle, you have a good relationship with.
I do.
And you're still in business together?
Yes.
So it was a great marriage, wasn't it?
It was a great marriage. I mean, it was, in Chinese people are very superstitious, right? And they all have the Chinese zodiac. And so I'm the year of the horse, and he's the year of the dog. And people always tell us that's why you guys were successful, because dogs and horses love to run together.
Oh, is that right?
That's what they say.
Okay, I'm going to check with our Chinese people over here.
Yeah, there you go.
Horse and dog are good together? So
not on a marriage standpoint, on a business standpoint, working together.
So that was great. Now, this uncle is your brother, is your father's brother?
Father's brother.
Okay.
Youngest brother, yes.
But it seems your father is a very strong personality.
Oh,
right?
yes. Oh, yes.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Yes.
But the uncle was a little more...
He's his youngest brother by 4 years, and he actually went to school here. So he was in the States since 1974, 1973. So his English is better. He's more Americanized. Russell has met him. He's a very nice guy. He's a very nice, very easygoing.
So you had no idea that all that training that you were doing in computers was going to prepare you for this.
That's exactly what I was saying. That
amazing.
I felt that job was my foundation for where I would be today. Without it, definitely I would have learned the skill sets that I would need in life.
Right.
And I have a son now. He's 10 years old. And my wife and I actually spoke about that, when he gets to a certain age, there's certain jobs I want him to get into to kind of build that confidence. Because I feel that being able to speak with people, not being shy, not being, what is the word?
Reserved.
Yes. Yeah. Having that skill set opens up a lot of opportunities for you. Just having connections, meeting people in a restaurant, at a bar, at wherever you are. Those connections will get you where you want to be or where you should be.
Right. I read or heard somewhere that, like, if you wanted to learn to do sales, do door to door, and it's the handling of rejection that strengthens you. I don't think I could do that. I'm not built for that. Yeah. But it's clear that you have a tremendous amount of confidence to speak and engage people, and I'm sure that really serves you well. So what is your item here? We asked you to bring an item.
Yeah. So I brought actually my backpack and my thermos cup, but my thermos cup has my son's name on it. I don't know if you know this, Russell, but my greatest fear is laziness.
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, because my wife knows this. I mean, I've had conversations with her about this, and it's because I don't ever want to get into a place where I become lethargic and not go to work. I make up excuses, whatever it may be. And so my thermos cup has my son's name on it. And it's just so that when I'm at work or whenever I'm just sitting on the couch, I could look at that and say, hey, you need to get off your ass and get to work for this guy. To give me that little push. I talk about laziness a lot. I think about lazy competition, about things like that, because I feel that people are inherently lazy. They're always trying to find a shortcut. They're trying to find the easy way out. And if I want to be successful, I need to fight that.
So you're just always pushing yourself.
I'm always pushing
intentionally.
Myself. Yes.
you have to keep that sort of at the forefront, huh?
Yes, because I don't have a college education. I never completed college, and having that as a crutch, I think I need to have a strength to combat that, especially in America. I mean, it's a land of opportunity, and what does that mean? That means that if you are willing to do it, if you're willing to reach for it, you can get it. Anything's attainable in America, and that's what makes this a great country, right?
Sure. And Marcus knows how to balance work and play, though, too.
Definitely.
So, sports. What is play?
What is play for me is finding family time right now. I don't get to. This is the part that kind of hurt my heart a little bit because I'm always at work, and so I remember when my son was 3. Anytime he had an issue or needed some comfort, he'd run to his mom, right? Or anytime I'd try to instruct him to do something like, hey, Ryan, it's time to go do your homework. He would run to his mom and says, Mom, do I have to do my homework now? You know what I mean? And so I felt like at that point, hey, I need to spend some more family time with my son so that he doesn't think that I'm the auxiliary parent, the parent that's the second parent, as opposed to a group between my wife and I, that we're one group. And so I am very mindful of that, and making sure that he knows that I'm always here for him. Right.
And you grew up, your mother was a single mother.
Oh, yes. She worked so hard.
So you saw that in your life. Did you have siblings?
I did. I had a sister, an older sister, 3 years older.
Okay.
It's tough for, an immigrant to come here, not just to come here, but to be a single mom. That generation, I think, taught us a lot more independence because of that. Because we didn't have babysitters. I remember coming home. So I lived right by Keppel, which is Alhambra Road. Do you guys know how far of a walk that is from Repetto?
That's pretty far.
It's pretty far. Yeah. I remember it took us over 30 minutes, I think 45 minutes to walk. And the hills.
Repetto's up the hill. There.
Yes, there's tons of hills.
Yeah.
And I remember
past City Hall and all of that.
Yes. Yeah. So I remember, getting out, and I think we got out at a couple hours before the older kids got out in kindergarten and first grade and second grade. And I would just wait in front of the school for my sister to come out so we could walk home together. We'd walk home together, let ourselves in, call our mom, let her know we're home. And, that's how life was. Latchkey kids, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We knew exactly what to do. We didn't need to be told by our mom. It was basically start your homework. Everything has to be done. No watching TV. Find ways to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
Right. But she worked 2 jobs. She would basically work 9 to 5, come home, pick up groceries, cook dinner, and then take off for a second job, and then start all over again the next day. Just seeing that grit,
Yeah. What's your parenting style then?
Oh yeah, my mom, my wife is a, what do they call it? A tiger mom?
Is she?
Oh, she totally is. I'm more of the fun dad, but I am pretty tough. I think me and my wife are together on that we need to be tough on him. We need to set boundaries, make sure that he respects us at a young age, because once they turn 12, 13, 14 teenage years. It's that respect that they have for us that keeps them in line. And if we're too easy for them, if we lose that kind of respect and we give them too much rope or too much leeway, that at that point we feel that it's too late.
Do you get involved in activities with him?
Oh, definitely. I coach his basketball team.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm the coach for his basketball team for 2 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important to have that connection, isn't it?
It is.
So you mentioned 10 million in sales, maybe fourth year?
Third year.
Okay,
Yeah.
So you're obviously doing well with Polymer One, and
how did I get into Doghouse and Yogurtland?
I want to get into that more, but so how has that changed your life, your marriage, raising your kid?
I don't think it's changed us at all. I mean, Russell sees me. I'm not a flashy guy. I'm not buying fancy clothes or fancy watches or anything like that. I mean, I try to keep pretty grounded. And my wife is the same way. I mean, we're not, I think the fact that we grew up in San Gabriel Valley with single moms that we saw work hard, we didn't change from that. Even though we lived pretty comfortably, we don't go above and beyond our means in any way. I mean, we save a lot. I mean, she still cooks at home. We still look for deals online for, steaks $4.76 at Ralph's right now. So things like that. Yeah. We don't eat at fancy restaurants very often. It's usually special occasions. And
sure.
So family is your sort of
it is
key.
It's very, you go through different life stages, right? I mean, when you're in your 20s, it's all about your friends and partying and this and that. And when you hit your 30s and you're married, then it's about you and your wife and your friends. But then once your kid comes around, that's your priority. That is what you got to focus on.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the San Gabriel Valley for you is just the perfect place for this kind of lifestyle.
It's really hard for me to say that because I haven't lived in any other places to say that it's perfect for us, but it's where we're comfortable. It's where we grew up. Having access to a lot of things, food, activities, clubs, schools, I think it's perfect for us.
Well, I love food, so anytime you want to mention Doghouse or Yogurtland.
Yeah. So what else are you doing in addition to selling plastic?
Yeah. So, I mean, we made a lot of money in Polymer One during those few years. And I started thinking, I don't want this money just sitting in the bank. I mean, there's got to be places I could put it that could be generating some sort of passive income, basically. So the first few things we did was we bought some rental property. But I mean, even with rental property, it's not really aggressive, right? It's more of a safe, like a retirement plan. And then so in 2008, my wife and I were driving down Baldwin in Arcadia, and we see this massive line going around the block. And so I'm thinking, what is going on? What store is generating this kind of hype?
Right.
So we follow the line, and it ends up being Yogurtland. And it was the first day of Sanrio collaboration, where they had Hello Kitty there handing out. Do you kind of remember that? It was a huge hype. And I said, wow, for a store to have that kind of collaboration with Sanrio, they must be going somewhere. They must be pretty important. And so I gave them a call. And I said, hey, what does it take for me to be part of your franchise community and join your party over there with Yogurtland? And they said, well, why don't you come on in and have a meeting with us? I was completely nervous. Because I have no restaurant experience. None at all. I had no clue how to run a restaurant. I had no clue what it took, the money it took. And so I called my buddy Anthony up. He owned a Subway before, and he was actually luckily for me, he was out of a job at that moment. I said, hey, would you like to go in with me, operate my stores, pay you a flat salary? What do you think? And he's like, definitely. I'd love to do that for you. So we walked into the meeting together at Yogurtland. And the entire time I thought it was going to be them interviewing me. I thought they wanted to see if I was who they would need to be opening stores. We walk in, we sit there at the conference table. Me and Anthony have an idea of how we wanted to present ourselves. And so here comes the sellability part, right? I'm selling myself. I tell them my business experience, what I did with Polymer One, where I came from, my roots. And they didn't say a word. They didn't say a word. I'm telling you, it was a matter of maybe only 15 minutes. And then she asked me, "Oh, do you have any questions for me?" That was it. And she said, "Here's the franchise agreement. Go ahead and sign. You have 7 days to think about it. If you want to do it, let's go ahead." So
at that time, how many stores were there? Yogurtland.
Yogurtland, at that time, there was 108.
Oh, so it was
108.
It was big already.
It was fairly big, but we're talking nationwide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
and they also have international stores out
Okay.
in Thailand and Singapore. And yeah.
Okay.
So they were fairly big already.
So where did you open your store?
Monrovia.
You're in Monrovia.
Opened up in Monrovia. And sales were, I mean, Monrovia is a fairly small city. It's maybe 30,000 people in the whole population. And it's basically, you have that old town area.
Is that where you are?
That is where I am. Yeah. And it's basically blocked off by Huntington and Foothill.
Right.
And Foothill actually ends. It dead ends onto Mountain.
Right.
So you're not really getting any sales from neighboring cities. It's basically just Monrovia.
And there was a Pinkberry and a mom and pop yogurt.
There was a cherry on top. Yes. Right on the same street. And so
are you up like
we are
at the very north part of?
We are.
Yeah.
We're on
okay.
Foothill and Myrtle.
Right. Okay.
Yes. And, it did great. It did good. I mean, it was profitable, but it wasn't as profitable as I thought it was going to be. And so by the time, it took me about a year and a half to find that location. The hardest part of opening a restaurant is location. One, because it's going to dictate what your sales are. Location trumps weather. Location trumps population of a city. If you have a great location, that's where your money's going to come from. So it took me a year and a half to find that location. By this time it's 2010. And immediately I was already ready to open another store.
Oh yeah.
And an employee over at Yogurtland corporate comes up to me and says, "Where do you want to open?" I said, "I would love Rancho Cucamonga." Rancho Cucamonga is a huge population over there in the Inland Empire. Inland Empire tends to follow the trends of LA, but just about a year later. So if something is hot in LA, it's going to be hot in Inland Empire a year later. And so I told him, "I want Rancho Cucamonga." And he's like, "Wow, there's like 6 guys that want Rancho Cucamonga." "What do you mean 6 guys?" He says, "There's 6 other franchisees that are fighting for that site." I was like, "Well, how do I get it?" And he says, "Call Caesar." That's his name. He was in charge of real estate development for Yogurtland. Call him and says, "I will open a store right now, this month, if you give me Rancho Cucamonga." And that's what I did. The problem is I had to find a real estate.
Yeah.
So I just found anything that was, maybe not an A+, maybe not an A-, but maybe a B+ site, and told him, "This is where I want to open. This is where I want to build." And he signed me right away. Now that store did double the sales of Monrovia. I mean, it's just a gangbuster store.
Do you still have both stores?
I still have both
then?
stores. Yes. Yes.
So I want to back up a little bit and get into the mentality, because it takes a lot to get to a place where you even believe that you can do that, right?
Yeah.
Like to enter into something, or like people can have thoughts and ideas of businesses they want to open or things, and you have that, right? Where do you think you got that? Because
My dad
obviously
calls
have
it
a lot
guts,
of confidence.
right? They call it guts, like having the guts to do it. It's funny. I mean, I have a lot of conversations with people who ask me the same thing, and in the process of talking to them, I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And he's like, "Oh, I'd like to be a businessman. I'd like to be independent." I said, "Well, what's stopping you?" He's like, well, let's talk about real estate. I mean, would you ever want to do rental property?" He's like, "Yeah, but then I got to worry about what if something breaks, or what if someone gets hurt on my property and sues me." And I was like, "That's your problem. You're all your mental thought, 80% of it is on the negative as opposed to the positive. And that's why you can never move forward." There's a lot of risk management going on in my head when I think about things, when I think about where to invest my money and things like that. Of course, there's a risk. But I also feel that when it comes to, let's say, opening a restaurant or a dessert shop or a plastics business, if I work hard, good things will happen. Right? If I do the marketing correctly, if I engage in the community, do a lot of community service things in the name of Yogurtland or name of Doghouse, and really try to implant myself to be a part of the community, then it'll survive.
And so you said Doghouse, right? So your Doghouse is in Chino Hills.
It's in Chino Hills.
And how's that going?
It's such horrible luck. So we opened in August of 2019. And so I pushed a lot of marketing dollars. August, September, August and September, October is just training for employees, basically, right? I mean, I brought in 40 employees, trained them up, whittled them down to see where my core group was going to be. By October, we finally started realizing, okay, this is where my employees have enough experience. I'm going to start pushing the marketing. So we did a collaboration with City of Hope for cancer research, doing a fundraiser for the week for them. We did a fundraiser for all the local schools. We called it Race to the House. It was basically a cash prize towards your school and also a name of a hot dog for your school, where anyone who buys that dog will get $1 to your school. So we did a lot of community activities, a lot of things with City of Hope. Then COVID hits, right? Oh. So all that marketing dollars and money donated and everything basically just went downhill. We went from doing 7,000 a day in Doghouse to doing 400 a day, because basically when COVID hit, people didn't even eat out anymore. They didn't even order takeout. They went to the grocery stores, stocked up, started cooking at home. So that's what we saw in March and April. Wow. The great thing about Doghouse is the corporate. They were on top of it. They knew this is going to be bad for the restaurant industry. They immediately came up with the Absolute brands, 3 new Absolute brands. It was basically like ghost kitchens. They started 3 new concepts, independent restaurant names, but it was all cooked out of Doghouse to help increase our sales and to alleviate some of the lost sales we had because of the COVID situation. And I really appreciate them for that. I mean, it's great to be part of a franchise, but it's great to be part of a franchise group that is that forward thinking. And I really appreciate them for that.
Yeah, I want to get deeper into some of the other struggles that you may have had coming up, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The legal process can be intimidating. You don't know where to start and you're unsure of what to expect. The attorneys and staff at the law offices of Scott Warmoth have been serving the San Gabriel Valley for over 35 years, helping people just like you navigate through the legal process and ensuring you're treated fairly. You can find them at law888.com or call 626-282-6868. That's 626-282-6868.
All right, we're back with Marcus. Before the break, you were talking about the impact of COVID on your businesses. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so continue. So, Yogurtland is still going, and yes. You're still experiencing trouble with that.
I mean, I think a lot of business owners and a lot of people in the restaurant industry can relate that we're at a point now where we're exerting more energy, working harder for less money, where it's because of the new regulations that the LA County or San Bernardino County or even the state of California, the regulations that they put in place to run a restaurant. I think in some places you couldn't have more than 50% capacity or 25% capacity. In San Bernardino and LA County, there's not even in dining. It's only dining, outdoor dining. And so you have restaurants erecting tents, right? Easy ups, tables and chairs, having to sanitize everything that's been touched. Cost of paper goods and food costs have gone up because you can't use plates, right? You have to use paper plates or plastic forks, disposable forks. Customers can't even get their own sodas from the soda machine. So now you have to have more labor working for you to help the customer fill their drinks, bring them out to the tables. Things like that. Labor costs has gone up, food costs, paper costs, all those costs have gone up for less sales. And so everyone is just working harder. Everyone's just trying a little bit more. It's tough for people in the restaurant industry. I think I completely feel for them. And so, anytime I go to a restaurant, I'll check out their Yelp reviews, and it breaks my heart when I see some of these, bad reviews for some of these restaurants, some of these mom and pop places. And I think, I wish the public would understand that, these are not rich people owning these restaurants. They're your uncles, your aunts, your moms, your fathers that are just working as hard as they can just to survive. and be a little bit nicer on there, right? When they're putting those negative reviews, because they're dealing with their own issues also.
Right.
I saw one the other day where a lady and her friend left a 1-star review for this Asian restaurant because the employee was wearing the mask below the nose.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
real shame, huh?
It's a shame because I don't know if these people realize how hot it is to work in a kitchen with your mask on. If that person drops it down just for a second to take a breather, give them a break. Be a little understanding about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, now we're 5 or 6 months into it.
Yeah.
Are you feeling better about your restaurants at this point?
Sales have gone back up. Sales are almost, I would say, 75% back to normal. I think a lot of it has to do with as soon as end of May came, and I think May 31st was the date that a lot of the state and county officials said, hey, we're going to start letting dining in. People are starting to loosen up a little bit. I think people were kind of sick of it. They're like, you know what? It's time for us to go to restaurants. It's time for us to eat out, at least order to go. I think you really see that in the sales, and then you also see it out. Traffic is starting to get a little bit heavier. March and April, people were just scared, right? But I think people just couldn't stay in home much any longer once May came around. Sales are a little bit stronger, but of course, people are still working harder to keep things sanitized, to keep things clean, things like that nature. Yeah.
So with these several businesses under your belt, is there something that you wish that you had done differently with regard to either of the businesses?
Not really. I mean, I wouldn't say I moved too fast. I wouldn't say I moved too slow. I felt that, my plan was always to work aggressively, be aggressive with my investments before I hit 40, because you only have those strong years of your life to really, make something of yourself, of your income and things like that. And basically after 40 was kind of slow things down. I don't feel like I've done anything, maybe invested in more real estate back in 2008, 2009, because you're never going to see those prices again. I mean,
Right.
Maybe buy some Tesla.
you buy some Tesla stock exactly when it
right.
was $50.
So, this is a way for our guests also to cement their story, so maybe someday when Ryan listens to this and he gets to see a fuller picture of who you are, and what you meant to the family and the community. I mean, providing jobs for people is huge, right? And I can see that you value being able to do that. And
I love my team members. I mean, when you're in the stores with them and you see how hard they work and knowing their backgrounds and what they're working for or their backstory, I mean, I tell them all the time, I was like, hey, there's certain ways that I know you've worked at other restaurants and how things go. And I just want you to know when you come into my place, I'm not that way. I'm not going to schedule you and have you cut off early just to save my labor costs, because that's something I promised to you. I'm not going to, because I don't know if you're familiar with that, where restaurants will have 5 people working, but then if it's a slow day, they'll cut 2 or 3 people and tell them to go home. I said, I'm not going to work that way. I find it disrespectful. It's almost like saying, your need for that income is not as important as my need to cut my labor costs. And I think that's kind of a crappy move. I'm sorry, it's a crappy move.
I know a lot of Chinese cultural business owners, and the stigma or whatever is like, we're going to work on Christmas and we're going to work on New Year's and, and do all those things culturally, right? Pay under the table. So, you have a different set of values when it comes to running your business.
I do. I mean, my values are basically treat your people right, and they're going to come and give you your 100%. Of course, you're going to have some people who might not share that same mentality, but it's your job as the owner, as the boss, to weed those people out, right? And reward the ones that are going to end up becoming a part of your family.
And you've built your plastics business for 20 years, maybe.
Yeah, 27 years now.
Oh, maybe 17
Oh, no,
years.
17
years.
yes. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. So how many employees do you have? And where is
Just
that?
5. It's
Where
just
is that
5.
head? Where's your office?
Diamond Bar.
Diamond Bar.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got 5 employees there, and then so you've got the bigger number of employees at the stores. Huh?
Oh yeah, I think with the 3, it's almost 50.
Yeah.
Almost 50. 50 is always the number that I look at because, in the state of California, it's really tough to do a business, right? I mean, there's a lot of different regulations, a lot of different things. One of the reason that number is important is because once you hit 50, you have to contribute health insurance for your employees, which would be a business killer. It would kill my business to have to shell out, $1,000 per employee per month. I mean, that would hurt me a lot. So I always try to manage that.
So what's on the horizon? What plans, either personal, business? What are you looking forward to?
Oh gosh, I mean, right now I'm kind of flattening out. Right, my aggressive years are kind of behind me. Does that mean that I'm not going to take a good opportunity if it shows itself? No. I mean, honestly, it's at this point I'm more looking for passive income such as rental property, things like that, to cement my retirement. Whether that be 60 years old or 55 or who knows when. It's basically just to settle down.
And you've got
to spend more time with my family.
10-year-old son.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of my clients that are retired, their number one regret is not spending enough time with their family.
Yeah.
None of them ever say I should have worked more. They really they sort of say that to me as a father of a young one, that there's always time to work, but
yes. Yeah. And like I told you, it was when my 3-year-old, when I started noticing that behavior where he was going to my wife, I was like, I need to be around more. I need him to remember that, hey, dad was also there for me just as much as mom was.
Yeah. All right, Marcus. So we want to talk about your favorite places or events or activities, experiences. This is SGV3.
Yeah.
What are your top 3?
My top 3 when I'm looking for a
places,
nice night out.
Yeah,
it's got to be Alexander Steakhouse. They treat you good over there. I mean, the people that work there, Rob, the head bartender, Melanie, the hostess.
And that's right here in Pasadena.
That's right here in Pasadena.
Yeah.
There, you walk in, they know you by name. I mean, it's a great place. They actually have a whiskey club. I don't know if you guys know that over there.
I don't, because I don't drink whiskey.
Oh no, yeah.
But
yeah. It's a great experience.
You would think they would have a good one, though.
They do. I mean, they actually have lockers. I don't know if you've seen them. If you ever go in there, there's lockers in the bar area.
Scott had his firm's Christmas party there.
We had our office Christmas party there.
I did too.
Oh yes,
I had my office Christmas party there. Yeah.
Well, we had it. It was 2 years ago, I think, wasn't it?
2 years, yes.
Yeah, you did it just this last
2 years ago.
Oh yeah,
2 years ago. Yeah. But
so you're the one who took the room that night we wanted it.
It was,
okay.
Yeah, it was one of the rooms in the back, but it was in the middle of the week. It was a Tuesday. It had to be because it's in the restaurant industry, I can't close on a weekend, so we have to do it on the weekday. But it was great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think my second go-to place for a good burger is Rick's drive-through on Main Street.
Rick's drive-through.
Okay, I'll tell you. No one. Probably only one person in this world probably agrees with me is Michael, but my wife doesn't think it is. But I grew up on that stuff.
Wait, where is that?
It's on Main Street and 2nd, but the original location was where was on Main and Garfield, or Main and what is that? 8th Street or?
Is that the only Rick's? Because I think I used to see one on Walnut in Pasadena.
Yes, but I don't think they were the same company.
Oh,
I don't think they're associated.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about, but I tried their burgers. It wasn't the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like an Alhambra High School thing, right?
Oh man. I mean, I grew up on 5th and Main. And so my buddies and I, we would, our generation, we rode our bikes everywhere. Right. And we would always go to Rick's and they would have these 25-cent Jell-O cups that we would always get. And that 35-cent soft serve that we would just go there and get a $1.90 burger and soft serve and a 25-cent Jell-O cup in the middle of summer.
So it's at where is it now? It's on Main and
2nd.
Okay.
I want to say it's Main and 2nd.
I have heard people mention that as well. I don't think I've ever been there, but I have heard that is a good place.
Oh yeah. I mean, I try to take my wife and she doesn't agree. She's from Burbank.
So what's your favorite? Well,
yeah,
they wouldn't know.
She wouldn't know.
What's your favorite burger there?
It's just a regular hamburger.
Okay. And then what sides do you get?
I do get the fries, just regular fries.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty on opposite ends of the spectrum.
It is.
Oh, yeah,
It is.
right.
Like
Yeah.
I said, if I wanted to go to a nice place, but if I want to, if I'm craving, that's where I'm going. If I need to feel happy, that's where I'm going.
And what's number 3?
Number 3 would have to be Garden Cafe in Alhambra.
Oh, wow. Okay. Lots of memories.
Yes, because that's where I met my wife. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's where I met my wife. That's actually a pretty good story. I was in a fraternity, right? And
Hold on. Let me set it up. So Garden is like after the club and bars. This is where like a lot of the San Gabriel Valley would go,
a late
right?
night place. Yes.
It's open till 4, something like that.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
open till about 3 or 4. And so in my fraternity, we would have our meetings on Sunday night. And so in 1996, Sunday night was in October, was Halloween, October 31st. And so after the meeting, we all decided to go to Garden Cafe, and in walks my wife and her friend Liz, and they're dressed up as Catwoman and a little devil. And of course, you know, the actives in the fraternity found this to be a great way to mess with us. So they asked me and Brian Almeida, you know Brian Almeida, to go and get their phone numbers. And if we did, we'd get brownie points, basically. It was like you know, you did a good job, brownie points. And so we walk up and we're like, hey, mind if we sit with you? And she said yes. And I mean, that's the start of the story. Now we're married for 14 years next week. Next week will be 14 years with a 10-year-old son. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that place holds a special place for me.
Yeah.
Garden
Sure.
Cafe.
Well, Marcus, I'm happy to see you, you know, just through all that's going on. And we've shared a lot of memories together doing
Definitely.
stuff. But I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate you coming onto the
I
show.
appreciate you too,
Yeah.
Russell. Hey, thanks a lot, man.
So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key podcast at sgvmasterkey.com. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again very soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.